Talking to NHL tonight alongside EJ Raddick. I'm Jamison Coyle. Hope you're doing well at home. We were leading you up to Team USA Switzerland, who are dropping the puck coming up at the World Junior Championships at 4:30. But like all great plans do change. And unfortunately, COVID is a day-to-day, minute-to-minute situation across the world these days. And that situation has now changed. Team USA Switzerland, that game has been canceled.
Yeah, and it's COVID issues within the Team USA group, and you can see here, this is the tweet from the IIHF. The Team USA has forfeited their game against Switzerland due to a mandated team quarantine following a positive test result of 2 of its players. So you read that right.
Yeah.
There's no postpone or reschedule. It is a forfeiture, so that is a loss for Team USA, a win for the Swiss, and we are concerned even more so moving forward because Team USA is scheduled to play tomorrow in the evening. I think it's a 9:30 start here in the East against Team Sweden, and that game is clearly in jeopardy as well. So a lot of concern, and as you mentioned at the top, this is a fluid world we live in right now.
A very fluid situation, to say the least, up in Red Deer. Again, this is pool play, right? You got to amass all the points. 4 out of the 5 teams advance on to the medal rounds, the knockout play. That game again tomorrow night against Sweden in jeopardy right now. We'll have to see the results. We're about to check in with John Rosen, who is on the ground up there in Red Deer. But from a team's perspective, right, you have 2 of the players test positive. Now the mandatory team quarantine right now. What does that do from a mindset of these youngsters who, you know, they're geared up to play this tournament? All of a sudden, you take an L against a team you probably were going to get a W against.
Yeah, that's the one thing from a hockey perspective I was going to bring up, is that this was a game that they were more than likely going to win, and that would have set them up 2-0 in the tournament. And then if this would have happened later, you play Sweden, you play Russia, if you have to forfeit those games, nothing is great when you have to forfeit, but those are games that are obviously going to be very, very competitive games if indeed they are played. So not great news from that standpoint. We'll have to wait and watch. But to your question about, you know, what does it do to the group? I mean, these are young athletes, and I bring it up all the time. I've had the good fortune of covering this tournament going back to 1998, 99. And what I've always found is there's a lot of swings of emotion within the games, within the periods. I mean, it's just because these are young players that are so excited, that are wearing, you know, their country on their sleeve, so to speak. It's a dream come true for many of them, and probably for all of them. And so it's got to be difficult to be sitting quarantined now, waiting to see if you're going to play in a very important and competitive game against the Swedes tomorrow, or if you're kind of going to be out of luck. And who knows what that means moving forward, because we all have seen what COVID has been capable of over these last couple of years, and how quickly transmissible, particularly with this latest variant. You've got to. If I was a young man in in the hotel room there and being quarantined in this situation, boy, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts running through my head.
Yeah, it's very unlike the NHL situation. Oh, by the way, the NHL is back. We have 3 games on tap later on tonight. We'll get to those coming up throughout the show, but much different than the NHL, whereas you have a player test positive, that player just misses this game. You have extra players, you continue to play the game. 2 players testing positive for USA, that's not enough. Full-on cancellation right now.
Yeah.
It's very different circumstances.
Well, those are the rules. I mean, let's face it. Everybody involved with putting this together, with the IIHF and the people on the ground there with Hockey Canada in Edmonton and Red Deer, everybody was aware of this. Everybody knew the rules going in, and unfortunately for Team USA, this is a circumstance that's now arisen. You know, they did play Slovakia. Slovakia, I guess, has tested cleanly so far because they were able to play their game, but who knows? We've seen situations where teams play one another in a game and then it gets transferred that way. So, boy, oh boy, I guess we just have to hold our breaths and just see how it's going to play out. And we always have the best interests of the health and safety of all the athletes. So hopefully this is an isolated incident, and maybe there are false positives. That's another possibility, I guess, in all this. So we'll just have to wait and watch. But it's really unfortunate for Team USA. There's no question about that.
All right, later on tonight, we do have Austria taking on Team Canada. Canada's second game of this tournament. That game scheduled as of now. We'll have to see how this one goes. The goalposts always moving when it comes to COVID-19. All right, as we mentioned, John Rosen joining us right now from Red Deer. John, what is the latest from the Team USA camp up there? Obviously a very fluid situation. This coming down a couple hours ago. What is the latest that you know of?
Yeah, we're still trying to learn more and more. Right now, the U.S. will not obviously play today. The game has been canceled. They're still waiting to see if tomorrow's game against Sweden will be able to go forward. The statement from the IIHF stated that they would take a look at how this quarantine right now for the 2 full days was going before they made a decision on whether tomorrow night's game will go forward. Of course, if you look at 2 full days, 48 hours, that would span past tomorrow night's game. But again, per the IIHF statement, they're still going to wait and see how this USA quarantine looks. Really great reporting as well from Chris Peters of Daily Faceoff and Hockey Sense. He said that the 2 positive tests on the U.S., the players have been asymptomatic. So we're still waiting. Again, like you guys just said, hopefully it is just a false positive. We can get back into this tournament action and not cover the news and COVID aspect of it as much.
John, for clarity, if these 2 positives are the only positives and everybody else tests negative, does the whole team negative for the team to continue, or can these 2 guys be taken out of the tournament, isolated, and maybe they don't come back? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a possibility, too. And that was something that happened with Sweden right before that they submitted their roster. Simon Knock, their captain, was deemed unavailable for the tournament, and they soldiered on. So we're still waiting to see exactly what's going to happen. We're still waiting to see if it's a false positive. But again, this did go down as the first ever IIHF tournament loss to Switzerland in World Juniors. Not exactly on the forefront of the USA hockey mind right now. They've done everything that they possibly can to isolate, to put themselves in a bubble. But as we all know, this isn't exactly a bubble. This is, there are places where they have to walk through the public, sometimes through the team hotel, and it's not a perfect science right now. So they've done everything they can, and they're going to continue to do that. They're going to isolate for the 2 days to best put themselves in position to return against Sweden and then play on New Year's again against Russia.
John, have we had a chance to hear from head coach Nate Lehman or any of the players as far as the news that came out a couple hours ago about this game being canceled and the forfeiture from the red, white, and blue at this point?
No, we haven't heard from them. We were supposed to hear at 9:15 this morning. There was going to be a Zoom call with the media, and that was postponed. And then we didn't have something immediately set up afterwards. That's when your minds begin to wander just a little bit. But the U.S. did find out about the positives earlier this morning. It's usually in that early morning, that following day when they show up. So I would imagine that we probably won't hear anything until later this evening, and any other decision made until tomorrow. But again, I want to say that's speculation as well, just because in the past that we've found out about these positives in the morning.
There were reports going out earlier before we kind of learned that this game was going to be maybe postponed, just not quite canceled. Is there any thought from the IIHF at this point that if Team USA isn't quite ready to play tomorrow's game against Sweden, that game isn't a forfeiture and it maybe just gets moved back a little bit and it's a postponement? Or is this concrete right now that any game Team USA can't play, that it is a forfeit at that point?
I can't say that it's a confirmation that it's going to be a concrete cancellation, but that's what they have dealt with, with today and in the past. That if you can't play, that goes down as a 1-0 forfeit. Obviously the U.S. puts itself in position to be able to play all of these games. There was some negotiating. They were going to bat for the team, trying to do whatever they could to be able to go and, theoretically play the game against Switzerland on the 1st. But it was rather quickly that idea was shot down by the IIHF. But again, USA Hockey did everything they could to try and give their players an opportunity to remake this game against Switzerland.
All right, we shall see how this all plays out. Again, a very fluid situation up there in Red Deer. John, appreciate the insight. We'll chat with you as this tournament continues along.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Any developments regarding postponements as the show goes along. Meanwhile, we'll keep it moving here and go back to the World Junior Championships. The IIHF disciplinary panel has issued a 1-game suspension to Hockey Canada forward Justin Sordiv for the violation of IIHF playing Rule 48, which is a legal check to the head or neck. That coming against Czechia in game number 1. Eej, here's the video. It was a vicious hit, a big hit. Do you think the crime fits the punishment? Well,
in the IIHF, they are very, they are very concerned with these type of plays, and they have rules that cover it. And I think the players are all well versed in what the rules are and how it could work for them. And you see that hit there was up high. And for me, I think luckily for Team Canada, they have a game against Austria tonight. They do not present a real danger, in my view, to Team Canada's chances of winning this game. So if you're going to miss a game, this is probably the one to miss. But, yeah, I think the rules are pretty clear in the international game, and I think that was one where the player did cross the line, and I'm glad that they've stepped up and have given him a suspension for it.
All right, so no sort of tonight's in that game against Austria. Meanwhile, we look ahead to tonight's, and we actually look back to last year's tournament where Team Canada absolutely steamrolled through the prelims and all the way up to the gold medal game. Didn't face any adversity until being down 1-0 to Team USA in that gold medal game. Well, not the case this tournament. They're down early in the first period, down 3-1. Do you think that benefits them this time around?
I think it does. You know, that was the talk last year. They had really just blown the doors after one team after another, and we were talking about maybe this is one of the best Canadian teams ever at the World Juniors, which is a pretty lofty discussion because they have had some great teams at the World Junior Championship tournament. And falling behind 3-1 early in the game, Owen Power ended up scoring to get it to 3-2. That got them back in it. Power got the hat trick. They tied things up. They went on to win the game. So they got over that early adversity in that game. So I think that will help them. You can see there's the goal that made it 3-2. I think this was incredibly important because they answered right away. The goaltender was kind of pushed back into the net, and Power was smart. He got the puck to the net. It hit the goaltender and went in. So, and then he went on his run there. And, boy, what a magnificent young player this guy is. He looks like a man among boys in this tournament. Remember, he was part of the World Championship team back at the World Championships when Canada rallied to win the gold medal. Boy, he looks like he's going to be a terrific player for the Buffalo Sabres for many years to come. So I think the adversity helps in these tournaments. You want to build. You want to be getting better. You don't want to be facing your first adversity maybe in the third period of the gold medal game because by then – you may not have an answer for it, and that time slips off the clock pretty quickly.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of time before we saw maybe our first highlight reel goal of this tournament. Mason McTavish.
Oh, boy.
I mean, we've seen this kid in the NHL for a couple of games.
Yeah.
We thought he might stick with the Ducks, get sent back down, but here he is on display and a man among boys and doing what he does best, the highlight reel goal.
Yeah, you know, he took the last year, and he went overseas, and he got stronger and bigger. And this is a beautiful goal. He comes all the way around the ice and just slides his puck. Watch this, right? Whoop! And then a great shot. So if you're an Anaheim Ducks fan, there's a closer look at it. I mean, you make that look way too easy to score that goal. If you're an Anaheim Ducks fan, you have got to be absolutely thrilled because you already have Zegras. You have a lot of other good young players there, and to have young Mason McTavish coming into the mix, who is a big, strong, but skilled player as well. Wow, that is good stuff for the Ducks fans. So McTavish making an impact for himself, certainly in game number 1 against Czechia.
A lot of fan bases out there smiling. You mentioned McTavish with the Ducks and Owen Power. Sabres fans are like ear to ear right now. There is no fan base assigned to Connor Bedard right now. Youngest player in this tournament, limited ice time in that first period. Do you see as this tournament goes along, we already saw it in game number 1, that his ice time increases based on that skill level that we've heard about for years now?
Yeah, he played at the U18s last year, and he was a force. And he's playing up in that tournament last year, and he ended up with 14 points. So the guys who are great players, they make it known to everybody they want to be playing, and they can get in the game and have impact. Canada's got a really good roster, but I expect that he will make his presence felt as this tournament continues to go on.
Welcome back. You're watching NHL Tonight, recapping our top story today. Breaking: USA Hockey has forfeited their game against Switzerland due to a mandated team quarantine following a positive test result of 2 of its players. For more on this, we welcome in Dave Starman, who at this time would normally be walking around these studios warming up his pipes to call the game with Steven Nelson. Instead, he joins us now from a hotel room because of that forfeiture and cancellation. Dave, what was your reaction to getting that news a couple hours ago?
I was really surprised, and I feel bad for the players and staff with Team USA because I know that they have been following every aspect of this protocol since day 1. They have tested every day since December 12th. Everybody was tested in and no positives. So I feel awful for them, and it was just really surprising. Just as a by the way, I'm in a hotel room here. I'm not under quarantine. I just want to get that on the record that it's them, not me. But it's really too bad because I liked their game 1. I was really looking forward to kind of watching them cruise through this tournament.
Yeah, and it was likely they were going to beat Team Switzerland today. You never like to say for sure. The Swiss, I'm sure, would have given them a good game, but it was more than likely they were going to win that game. So now we focus on the Sweden game, which is scheduled for tomorrow. If the U.S. is forced to forfeit that game, how worried are you about the prospects of Team USA moving forward?
You know, it's funny. A lot of people have asked me that today, and my only thought was, you know, their goal differential right now is technically 0. And if they have to forfeit the Sweden game, that makes them 1-2, which means they would probably need to beat the Russians for a second win. And then what happens? I mean, is 2-0 considered better than 2-2? I'm not sure where this is going, because I think the IIHF right now is in incredibly uncharted waters. So to me, it's almost more important now, for the sake of the players and the sake of the integrity of the tournament, just to get the games in. And I think from a scouting and evaluation process, I think most NHL teams would just like to see Team USA continue to play into that Russia game if they can play it, or the Sweden game tomorrow, just for player development purposes and looks and scouting evals. But where this shakes out to get to the January 2nd, I have no idea.
Sometimes we forget, because this tournament gets so much of the spotlight, that these are kids. And we talked at the top of the show, you made a great point, that the emotions they range. I mean, these are 18-year-old kids, some of them younger than that. How do you think Team USA handles this adversity, this curveball thrown right into their structure of this tournament?
I will tell you this, from all the years that I have dealt with that federation, they have been really, really good with adversity. And that they're really smart when it comes to dealing with issues like this. And you've got veteran coaches on that staff between Nate Lehman, Teddy Donato, Chris Mayotte, Steve Miller. I think if they get the opportunity to play again, they'll jump on the ice if they hadn't missed a beat, because my feeling, and just chatting with folks up there, is that they didn't do anything wrong. And whenever they get the green light, they'll just go. So, I mean, they're in their rooms and they're all quarantined in. And the unfortunate part is you can't really work out and do any of the cardio work you want to do to at the very least keep that kind of shape going. But I really feel like once they put their boots back on, it's game on, and they won't think about this very much. It is the one thing I've been most impressed with USA hockey teams through the World Juniors over the last 14 years that I've done it. Their resiliency has been really good. Their ability to handle adversity has been really good. And that is a lot of the pedigree that comes from the top.
And Dave, I think, you know, moving forward, again, we don't know what's going to happen with the game against the Swedes tomorrow. We hope they can play. We hope, if not then, maybe the game on New Year's Eve against Team Russia. But let's assume that they're able to garner enough points to get through. I guess the picture is that it just makes the road more difficult. For some reason, they end up 4th in their pool. They'd likely have to play Canada in that first game, and that's a different scenario. The road is much more difficult than, I guess that's the thing from a hockey standpoint that we're looking at here.
All right, so I'm going to get hate mail for this one, but hear me out on this one.
Okay.
They wind up playing January 2nd in a winner-takes-all knockout game against Canada, where one team can end the other one's tournament between the defending gold medalists of the United States and the hometown team and Team Canada. You want drama? You got it on January 2nd. So my feeling is that's must-watch television should those two teams collide on January 2nd. I know everybody likes to see them play in the gold medal game. I'm right there with you. But one team, winner take all, one game single elimination, that only adds to what is the best rivalry in hockey right now.
Just typing up that hate mail, because there's a lot of people that are like, no, we want to see it in the gold medal game. But hey, at least we get to see it.
It is what it is,
right?
Yeah.
All right, Dave, rest up. Those pipes should be unbelievable the next time you and Nelly get to call that game, whenever that may be. But we appreciate you filling us in on some of this uncharted territory with the IIHF today. Thank you.
Hey, we're hanging on and waiting for news like you guys are. This is the craziest thing I've seen. But you know what? This is, as Beezer said, this is what we're living in today. It's an ever-changing landscape. And it's roll with the punches. And like I said, it's something that team tends to do pretty well.
Well said. All right, Star, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, guys, thank you.
All right, one of the guys we were looking forward to seeing on the ice today, Luke Hughes. And we've seen certainly some Hugheses over the last couple of years for the red, white, and blue. This the latest and the youngest of the Hughes brothers. 4th overall pick in 2021 by the New Jersey Devils. Take a look at what he's done this season at Michigan. 7 goals, 11 helpers in just 20 games. Leads all freshman D-men across the country in points. JP Morosi taking a closer look at the Hughes family.
On this side of the border, we are very eager to point out that since 2010, Team USA has won the most gold medals of any nation at the World Junior Hockey Championships. Of course, we must also acknowledge that Canada's passion for this event, on and off the ice, always will be a foundational element of what makes the World Juniors so incredible every year. So much so, in fact, that the first family of American hockey is steeped in the Canadian culture surrounding the event. On September 9th, 2006, the Maple Leafs officially announced Jim Hughes as an assistant coach with the AHL Toronto Marlies. Hughes' youngest son, Luke, turned 3 years old that very same day. Over their next decade living in the Greater Toronto area, the Hughes brothers did the same as their friends at this time of year. They watched the World Juniors on Boxing Day, even if they cheered for a different team.
Yeah, I mean, it's an honor to wear the USA crest whenever you can, and I mean, growing up in Canada, watching this tournament, and rooting on the Americans is, it was huge and crucial moments for us growing up. So I mean, there was a couple of really good moments and things that stick out to you.
And I'm sure it's got to be unique, Luke, to love this tournament and understand how Canada watches it so intensely, but then obviously be a proud American at the same time. How do you think that's really informed your perspective on this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, especially when the tournament was in Canada or in the U.S. I mean, you try to watch games, especially if it's in Toronto or Buffalo. But I mean, it was a really cool environment. I mean, everyone in Canada watches it. A lot of people in the United States watches it. It's a huge event.
We grew up watching the World Juniors every year. The Canadians, obviously, it's their number one sport, and it's not World Junior, it's not Christmas time, it's World Junior time.
And the Hughes brothers were in Canada for one of the greatest moments in U.S. World Junior history.
Over the line, Carlson, he scores! The U.S. wins the gold medal! Charles Carlson has done it!
Jack, the future number 1 overall draft pick, was 8 years old.
8 or 9 kids at the house though, and it's like being able to go into the room the next day, and be like, USA, USA won to all of your Canadian teammates. So.
You know what I actually remember was 2013 when we won. I vividly remember that where I was. We won 5-1 versus Canada in the semis. I remember.
Goudreau, right?
Yeah, Goudreau, Seth Jones, Trouba. So I think we had 4 or 5 of my teammates there. It was in Russia, so I think the game was 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. We got up and we were really excited, and they won 5-1 obviously, and that was really exciting. I remember just giving it to those guys.
Certainly bragging rights and stuff, but at the same time, we're trying to be humble and stuff, just humble Americans, and you're in a hostile environment and at that time in the year, so.
The Hughes brothers' first in-person World Junior experience was at the 2011 tournament in Buffalo, where they watched from the stands as Jack Campbell backstopped the U.S. to bronze. They returned to Western New York 7 years later, this time with Quinn on the ice for Team USA's memorable shootout win outdoors against Canada. At the next World Junior, Jack joined Quinn for a tournament run that led to silver. Jim and Ellen were in attendance in Victoria and Vancouver, while Luke watched from afar while playing in his own tournament elsewhere in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're really excited to play together, and I mean, it's really cool to play with your brother, and then obviously to wear the USA crest on your jersey. It's an honor, and I think that was a pretty cool tournament for them. And I mean, anytime you bring home a medal, it's important. And obviously, you want it to be gold, but to bring home a silver medal is pretty important too.
Luke's impressive first half at the University of Michigan earned him a spot on Team USA for this World Junior. He made history in the process, as the Hughes family now has the first group of 3 brothers to each represent the U.S. in this tournament. Even as the youngest defenseman in college hockey, Luke is the top-scoring freshman defender in the NCAA. He arrived to Alberta with plenty of confidence and his brother's advice.
Their messages have been to go day by day and try to get better every day and try to get to know your teammates' tendencies and stuff, and just try to get a role on a team and try to help the team as much as possible.
And if Luke helps the U.S. defend its World Junior title, the first family of American hockey will have their first gold medal in an event they've cherished in 2 countries for so many years.
I think it's a goal to play at the highest level as possible, and right now this is it for me. And I think obviously, like I said, it's an honor to wear the USA crest and try to win a gold medal, and I'm super excited for it.
All right, so Quinn, Jack, and now Luke. And Luke is certainly tearing it up at Michigan, and we saw a glimpse of that in World Junior Championships. From what you know and what you've seen from him, what do you think the expectations for Luke Hughes are going to be?
It's really going to be interesting to watch how things go for Luke Hughes. He plays obviously on the blue line. He's bigger than the other two Hughes kids. I mean, Quinn has been spectacular out of Vancouver, and he's got so many unique skills. But you add in Luke's situation that length. He's a little bit taller. He's a little bit longer in terms of his reach. And I think he's got a lot of the same qualities in terms of the way that he skates and moves the puck. So, wow, I think that there's a lot of upside for this kid. The New Jersey Devils, I think, have a really good group of young people that are coming within their group, especially on the blue line. They're going to be good players for them. I think expectations are going to be pretty high. I mean, let's face it. He's the name value in itself, right, is going to have people saying, well, what do you got?
Right.
You know, Quinn Hughes is really good. Jack, I think Jack is still, because of the injuries and because of the world we've lived in the last couple of years, it's taken Jack, I think, a little bit longer, but I expect him to be an outstanding player in this league for many years. And I'll be really curious to see what happens with Luke because, again, having that little more size on the blue line makes such a difference.
And getting to play with his brother, Jack. With the Devils, right? The first family of hockey in America.
They really are. That's
it's unbelievable, right? There's no more coming, right? There's 3 of them.
Well, as far as we know, but we'll check with J.P. Morosi. I think he lives in the house now. I'm not sure. I think he has a little side
little
room.
pantry. They put him in the...
He keeps a close eye on those users.
He does, and he does a great job of covering them.
And that's why we love him, because we need to know.
We do, and now you know.